I'm normally not the kind of person who people would view as being anxious, and I never really thought of myself as being anxious either. And then one spring I started having kind of vague feelings of anxiety, and they started to intensify, mostly at night, and I thought, well, I'm moving into that perimenopause time in my life, I guess this can be expected. So I didn't think much of it, but they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then, about a month after they started, I was flying home from California and had what I would view as my first panic attack. I have never been that anxious or felt that claustrophobic in my entire life. I thought for sure I was going to have to get off that plane somehow. I spent most of the flight in the bathroom, oddly enough, even though that was a small place. That's where I felt comfortable. The flight attendants started to look at me kind of strange, so I didn't want them to think I was a terrorist, so I explained what was happening to me, and I didn't even really know what to say. I said, you know what, this has never happened before, but I am feeling really anxious right now. I stayed on the plane. It was extremely difficult, and fortunately the plane landed early, 3 hours and 10 minutes later instead of 3 hours and 20 minutes. I got off the plane. My friend who was with me just kept looking at me because she's known me for a lot of years and she has never seen me behave that way. And I tried to explain it the best I could. We got in the limo to drive home, had the problem a little bit there, but it was certainly much better. And then it just continued from there on. The anxiety continued to increase. It got to the point where I couldn't sleep through a night. I was having trouble being in my car because my car was too small. I was having trouble being at work because the ceilings were too low. And then came the day where I was outside driving in my car and it was raining. Now I'd been driving with my car windows open because that's the only way I could be in my car was if I had air. And it was raining, so I had to close them. And I had a very difficult time making it home. The sky was too low, the clouds were making me anxious. As I was driving, I was looking at small houses. Small houses were making me anxious. And I felt like I was losing my mind. I really did. It came down to a night where I had been wide awake for a long time, feeling terrible. I had also seen my doctor a little before that, and he had told me that I was in very good physical health, except I was quite overweight. And so I started to think, well, I'm going to need to make some changes in my life, but I really didn't know what to do. Years ago, I had seen a chiropractor who's also a wellness clinician. And I'm a big believer in that kind of thing because I work in the medical field. I see people who are put on different medications for different things. I work with patients who are 70, 80 years old, especially women who are taking 17 different medications. And the side effects of these medications is making them worse. And a lot of those women are taking things for anxiety and it's not helping. And then they're taking things to help them sleep and that's not helping. And they're taking things to make them be less depressed, and that's not helping. And they're still anxious, very unhappy, very unhealthy, because now they're having side effects from medicine. And since I'm 50 years old, I decided I am not going to start that downhill spiral. It's not going to be me. I want to do something to take better care of my body. And since I knew I was overweight, I knew I was going into perimenopause, I had to do something. I went to see my wellness clinician. And I had filled out a pretty extensive history, asking questions about every aspect of my life. But the funny thing is when I got there, he took one look at me and he really seemed to know exactly what was going on. He said that this is a common problem. He said it's a common problem in women especially. And that for the adrenal glands to be completely exhausted or completely tanked is the word that he used, is also very common. And all of my symptoms seemed to point to that. And I have to say that I just took a huge sigh of relief that it was something physical, that it was something that we could support my body to heal. And that's what he said to me. He said, you know, this isn't going to be an easy problem to fix, but we can fix it. We can support your body, support your adrenal glands, add some vitamin C. And so he did some kinesiology testing. We talked for a long time actually, and he asked me a lot of questions about the stressors in my life. And I said that I really didn't have any until I started to talk about them. And then he looked at me and he said, you realize these things are huge. You know, oftentimes we just live our life and we just take what comes at us and we just deal with it. And we don't even realize that these things going on truly are stressors. And year after year after year, they're building up, and especially when several of them happen at once. And so after talking and after finishing all of his testing, he recommended an amazing supplement for my adrenal glands, combined with some extra vitamin C, some magnesium, and said that I'd feel better soon. And I did. Within 2 weeks, this amazing shelf of belly fat that I had accumulated was gone. It was just completely gone. And I had learned that that was because my body was releasing a lot of adrenaline and a lot of cortisol a lot of the time. And when it had nowhere to go, it gets stored in the belly. And I just thought it was happening because I was getting older. So what a relief that was. So I lost that and started to lose weight almost immediately. Felt so much better, calmer. Obviously I could sleep better. I could do my job better. My husband liked me more. I was more pleasant to be around. Everything just got better, and very quickly, actually. Because I've worked in the medical field for many years, I've seen what a combination of many different medications over a long term can do. And I'm not saying that medication is not something that needs to happen from time to time. But if you're already on medication and you're still not feeling better, things aren't good, and you know something's wrong, then I would seriously consider looking at natural therapies. This is a way that you can support your body and let your body do the healing. And maybe you can decrease some of those medications and you can get yourself feeling better. I mean, how important is your physical health to you? How many years do you have to live in your body? And don't you want to do it feeling well and feeling good? I do. And so that's why I'm just a firm believer in natural therapies first. I think that it's the best way to go. I think it's what our body wants. It wants to heal itself, so we can help it. So give it a try. When I come into Berglund Health and Wellness Center, I feel very welcome. The environment is warm and comfortable. Christy is always friendly and willing to help me. There's lots of good food that I can look at, lots of good books I can read while I'm waiting. But the funny thing is I never have to wait very long because they're always on time. So I just really enjoy my time here. The things that I appreciate most about Dr. Mike are his willingness to take time. His knowledge. He has an amazing knowledge of the human body. Everything about cells and how they work and how the body works together and what works to support it. He's smart. But he doesn't mind sharing those things in a way that I can understand. He takes time, he spends time with me, he's got a great sense of humor, and he just makes you feel comfortable and hopeful about whatever's going on with you.